Good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending this Rules of Golf seminar. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, just testing our sound. Well, thanks for attending our final seminar of the spring season as we get into fully playing golf here in the Carolinas. If you've attended our seminars thus far, we've kind of bounced around. This last one is going to be some videos and covering just back and forth some random everyday things that happen on the golf course and also some complicated situations. So feel free to ask in the chat any questions you have. Brandon Hood here is going to be monitoring that, our assistant director of rules and golf. I guess I should let you know, my name is Chris Zay, and I am the director of junior golf here at the Carolinas Golf Association. I've been here now for 11 years and bounced around various roles. Brandon here has been here, I think now 6 years. And so we're both excited to talk rules. We talk them in the office sometimes when we're bored, and we're here to help. We want everybody to know the rules of golf because they will help you get out of situations. So right off the bat, like I said, we're gonna get right into it. We're not gonna tell you who we are and what we do because you're here. So hopefully you know most of that stuff, but we're just gonna get right into the presentation. See if I can get it going here. Or not. Lost my mouse here. All right. So the Rules of Golf app now, they cut back on the books. So you should download the app and keep that with you. It's got search function. It works great. We use it. I don't carry a rules book with me anymore. I used to always have one with me on the golf course. I now just carry my phone with me. So we recommend downloading the app. If something comes up on the course with you and your buddies, you can just pull it up and search, and hopefully it'll give you the answer. And we did email you that link to download that app. It's pretty simple to do. Some rules of golf topics. So we got some fun rules, topics, and situations. Some may seem simple, some may seem complicated. As we continue through the slides, again, please ask if you have any questions in the chat. So right off the bat, we're going to talk about where's my golf ball. And I try to explain this to people that are new to golf and also people that are experts. You need to know where your ball is at all times. It's just like any other sport. In hockey, for example, you can't be in the crease if you're not a goalie, right? You're going to get called for, I think Brand's a big hockey guy, goaltender interference. And in basketball, you want to know if you made a 3-pointer or 2-pointer. You need to know these types of things when you're playing sports. So in golf's no different. We have 5 areas of the course. You have the teeing area, which seems pretty basic, where we tee off. The general area, which is pretty much everywhere in the course. That's not the other 4 areas. The bunkers, the penalty areas, and the putting green. And everybody that plays golf should kind of know those. But again, the reason we need to know is we need to know what we can or cannot do in those areas.
When it comes to the rules of golf, a basic principle that every player should know is the different areas of the course. It's important to know these areas because they often determine what you're allowed and not allowed to do. And even though every golf course is different, they all have the same 5 defined areas. And they are the teeing area, which is the place where you start the hole that you're playing, penalty areas, bunkers, the putting green of the hole that you're playing, and if the ball doesn't lie in one of these 4 specific areas, then it's considered to be in the general area, which covers every square inch of the course that the 4 specific areas do not. Get to know these areas and the rules become much easier to understand and apply.
So that's our good friend Jay Roberts there with the USGA. He makes some great videos. Any questions on the specific areas of the course before we move on from that one? That's a pretty basic slide there. But again, we want to make sure that you know it's important to know where your ball is at. How do I drop my ball? So in drop, again, they changed the rules. I don't know. It's getting old now. I don't remember when they changed these new dropping rules, but they changed it. The ball must be dropped straight down from knee height. And it must be dropped by you or your partner. And it must first strike the ground within your relief area or on the line when taken back on the line relief. And it must remain in the leaf area.
This is how you drop a ball the right way according to the rules. Number 1, you, the player, must drop the ball. But if you're playing in a partner format, your partner would be allowed to drop for you. Number 2, you must drop it straight down from knee height without it touching your body or your equipment before it hits the ground. This means no throwing, spinning, or rolling. Just drop it straight down. If the ball hits your body or your equipment before first touching the relief area, then it's a wrong drop and must be re-dropped to avoid penalty. But if the ball hits the relief area first and then accidentally hits your body or your equipment, then as long as the ball comes to rest in the relief area, it's a good drop and you play it as it lies. And number 3, the ball must be dropped in the relief area, or if taking back on the line, directly on the line. This means you're not allowed to drop it outside of the relief area or away from the line and then have it roll into the relief area or on the line.
Another great video from Jay there. Again, we know most of the people that are out there playing probably just toss their ball out of the cart when they can't find it or something, but playing by the rules are important, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to drop it from knee height straight down in our relief area. Oops, sorry, skip through this one here. So what if the ball rolls
So you
out of the
decide to
relief
take
area?
relief from this sprinkler head, which happens to be on a really steep slope. And when you drop the ball, it rolls outside of the relief area. When this happens, you'll be required to drop a second time. But pay attention on the second drop, because if the ball rolls outside for a second time, then you'll simply place a ball on the spot where the ball first touched the ground on the second drop. So just remember, drop, drop, place.
So again, the USGA wants you to play from the relief area, but they're going to have you try at least twice to drop there. If the ball rolls out the second time, we're going to place it on that X where it hit the ground. So if you're on a severe hill, you know it's going to roll out of there. You still have to drop it twice before you move on. Any questions on how I drop? All right, here's one of our favorite videos we added. So I accidentally hit my ball on the tee while making a practice swing. Do I have to count that? And we get this quite often. Ball rest moved. So your ball is on the tee in the teen area, and you're making a practice swing. So did the ball move? Yes, but no penalty as the ball was not in play until a stroke was made at it in the teen area. So does the practice swing count as a stroke? No, the player has no intent in making a stroke at the ball. So the definitions of what a stroke is, you have to have intent. And in this scenario, we don't have intent. So if your ball is in the teen area, not out on the general area yet, again, that's why I talked about it's important to know the area of the course. If you're in the teen area still, no penalty. We like to laugh about the Zach Johnson rule.
His flag.
And now Zach Johnson,
And that video never gets old. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing to us, but I think the USGA might have paid him just for us to have this video. But again, now if that was out in the fairway, then we have problems. If Zach did that out in the middle of the fairway or the rough or the penalty area somewhere like that, we're going to have problems anywhere but the teen area and the putting green. So ball at rest moved. I set up to my ball to take my swing. When the bottom of my club head touches the ball wiggles a bit, and I'm not 100% sure if it goes back to its original spot or not. And this happens a lot, especially in the Bermuda rough here in the Carolinas. You kind of set your club down there, and the ball might wiggle, but did the ball move? Only if the ball has left its original spot and come to rest on another spot. So a wiggling or oscillation of the ball is not moved. And had a junior player this past weekend come up to us, showed us exactly what happened. We deemed it to not have moved because he said that the markings that were on his ball, he could still see. They didn't move position. They just wiggled. So we determined that the ball did not move. And again, you have to have knowledge of virtual certainty that it did move. And is there a penalty for touching the ball without moving it? And if done accidentally, no. So if you're accidentally just setting up to your ball, kind of do a couple wiggles, set the club head down, look up to see where you're hitting it, and look down and see you accidentally touched your ball, there's not going to be a penalty for that as long as the ball did not move. I accidentally caused my ball to move on the putting green. Am I penalized? And I just kind of mentioned this a second ago. No, if the movement was by accident, but you must replace your ball,
Here's a simple rule about the putting green that every golfer should know. If you accidentally cause your ball to move, there's no need to worry. Unlike most other areas of the course where this is usually a penalty, when you're on the putting green, there is no penalty if you or anyone else accidentally moves your ball or ball marker. Simply replace the ball or ball marker back on its original spot. And if the exact spot isn't known, just do your best to estimate it and then play on as normal.
Okay, again, I don't want anybody to get confused. If we're in the fairway, that's a penalty. If we're in the rough, that's a penalty. Only on the putting green or in the teeing area can you accidentally cause your ball to move. If it's not in play yet, then, and then on the putting green, it's, even if it is in play, it's okay as long as it was a practice and it was accidental. So don't think if you're in the rough or the fairway, you accidentally move your ball that you're okay. It's only on the teeing area or on the putting green. So now we'll talk about loose impediments and movable obstructions. So there's two items that are considered part of a challenge of playing the game and can be moved. So loose impediments are unattached natural objects such as sticks, leaves, twigs, and blades of grass. So as long as they are not fixed or growing solidly embedded in ground or sticking to the ball. And this is all lawyer talk. But again, you should all know what a loose impediment is. Kind of a natural object like a pine cone there in the picture. And a movable obstruction is going to be an artificial object that can be moved with reasonable effort, such as a water bottle, scorecard, broken tee, trash can, bench, kind of like a cup there in the bottom right. We're going to be able to move that. And loose impediments and movable obstructions can be moved anywhere on or off the course. But with that said, if your ball moves when moving a movable obstruction, there's no penalty. And you must simply replace the ball. So you move that cup, your ball moves, you must replace it. I'm not going to get a penalty for that. If you move that loose impediment and that causes your ball to move, you are going to get a one-stroke penalty and you must replace your ball. So you want to be careful when you're messing around down around your ball, moving loose impediments, because if you accidentally cause your ball to move, it is going to be a penalty. However, movable obstructions, we want you to go ahead and get those out of there. Those are not part of the course. They're not part of playing the game of golf. So go ahead and toss those out of the way and then replace your ball. You got a question?
Yeah, should we do it now?
Sure. Go ahead.
Someone has asked if player 2's ball off the green moves my unmarked ball on the green, what happens?
Okay, so player, if I get this right, you're on the putting green 10 feet from the hole. So just visualize this. You're on the first hole of the day. You hit up there for birdie 10 feet. You're feeling good. Your buddy missed the green. We're walking up there. Your buddy's chipping up. Before your buddy can chip, you don't have a chance to mark your ball. You're just sitting there talking about what you're going to do this weekend. They chip, and it rolls up and nails your ball, and your ball rolls 3 feet closer to the hole. What we're going to do is we're going to replace our ball on the position it was on because that's where our ball was. And no penalty to either player in that scenario, but we must replace our ball back on where it was at. And then your buddy's going to play from where their ball ends up. So you don't get good luck because it hit your ball closer. You must replace it if you knew it was hit. Now, if you're both down in the fairway and you both hit it up there on the green and you didn't know your ball was hit and nobody else around knew your ball was hit, then obviously you're not going to be penalized for that. You're just going to go play it from where it lies because you didn't know. But if you have knowledge that your ball was moved in that scenario, you must replace it on the spot. To answer that question, is that what they were asking?
I think so.
The two fundamental principles of golf are to play the ball as it lies and play the course as you find it. But sometimes you can't do that. Movable objects, either natural or artificial, are generally not treated as part of the challenge of playing the game, and you're usually allowed to remove them when they interfere. Movable obstructions are artificial objects that are easy to move, such as rakes, water bottles, player equipment, and trash cans. These objects can be moved out of your way, even in bunkers and penalty areas. While not required, it's a good practice to mark your ball before moving the obstruction. If your ball moves, there's no penalty. Replace it and play on. Leaves, Branches, grass clippings, and other natural objects known as loose impediments can also get in the way of play. Fortunately, you're allowed to move them without penalty, even in bunkers and penalty areas, but there is an element of risk involved. If you cause your ball to move when removing loose impediments, you must replace it and add 1 penalty stroke. However, if this happens on the putting green, simply replace it and play on without penalty.
That's a great video there. Again, movable obstructions, we can move anytime, anywhere. And if our ball moves, we just must replace it. Loose impediments, we can move them anytime, anywhere, but we need to be careful. If our ball moves, we're going to be penalized, except in that very last scenario there where you saw on the putting green, they're going to let you off the hook because most likely you're going to have that same lie on the putting green. And you could also have marked your ball on the putting green and picked it up and moved that loose impediment. So makes sense when you think about it. The rules are just written a little bit more difficult than that. But again, we can move those anytime, but it's a matter of whether we're going to get a penalty or not.
And someone in the chat says they have a comment for you. So, Richard, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Chris, this is Richard Crappel. That was me. That we had an interesting ruling this weekend that had to do with the at the Tiger event that had to do with hitting the ball on a practice swing, and it wasn't something you mentioned, but I thought I had no idea when I was there what what the ruling was, and learned something new, and I think everybody can. Kid hit the ball in the water, dropped his ball, took a practice swing, hit it in the water, and then dropped the ball instead of placing the ball. So it ended up being a 2-shot penalty for hitting the ball and then dropping the ball instead of placing the ball when he hit a practice swing. So I just thought that was interesting. Thought you might want to comment on that.
Yeah, that's a you mute me again. That's a long one there. So we're in the penalty, we hit in the penalty area, we take our 1-stroke penalty and we drop it in our relief area. Taking a practice swing, we accidentally cause our ball to move. So we must replace it for a 1-stroke penalty. And when we didn't, we ended up playing from a wrong place and getting 2-stroke penalty since we didn't replace it and we dropped instead of placing. So I believe that you all got that one right. But yes, that you must replace it, not drop back. You just want to put it right back on that spot. And if that ball is not immediately recoverable, since it sounds like the player might have hit it in the water, they actually can substitute another ball there for that scenario. But
Yeah,
they would
I
want
just
to.
thought it was interesting, and not something I've run into in my 60 years in it.
No,
So
it's definitely a unique one. Those are the ones that are on the rules test that Brandon and I have to take every year and try to get them right. So that is a good one. But again, yeah, it sounds like he was in the general area since he had just dropped from the penalty area, so he's going to be penalized for that.
thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Good one there. Any other questions? Or are you answering?
Yeah, it's probably easier to answer them verbally. Drop, place, and keep placing, and you can't get the ball to stop, or it won't stay still where you're trying to place. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're just going to move inch by inch, no closer to the hole until we can get our ball in play at rest, and then we're going to move on.
If I accidentally hit a ball from the general area with a practice swing, can I play the ball from where it now lies with no penalty?
So the answer to that is no. In the junior golf world, we might ask a lot more questions. Did you mean to hit it? What was your intent to hit it? And if that was the case, then yes. But if you did not mean to hit it, then you didn't take a stroke at the ball, so you must replace it. So you're not going to be able to go play it. So if you accidentally hit it 30 yards up the fairway, you can't just say, well, that's going to count as one, and I'm going to go hit it from there. That you're still going to get penalized, and you must replace it.
If you don't,
And if you don't, you're going to get penalized 2 strokes from playing from a wrong place. And so instead of getting just 1 and playing from there, you're going to get 2 and possibly a penalty of disqualification if you gained a significant advantage in doing that. So you're going to want to definitely go back and put that one back on where it lies, or where it lay before you hit it.
The two fundamental
Through this slide here. Searching for your golf ball. Can I use a leaf blower? This is a great video. We're out of this season, but definitely some courses here, and especially the mountain areas that this happens to. But can you use a leaf blower? And the answer is yes, but be careful.
Are you actually allowed to use a leaf blower to find your ball? Well, when it comes to loose impediments, you're allowed to remove them in any way you want. That could be your hand, your club, or something else like a leaf blower. So this is perfectly fine, but there's two situations to keep in mind. If you haven't found your ball yet and cause it to move during your search, there is no penalty, but you have to replace the ball. But on the other hand, if you've already identified your ball and you're just cleaning up the area around it and cause your ball to move, then it's a one-stroke penalty and you must replace the ball.
Another great video by Jay there. So you can use a leaf blower to look for your ball. You can use your club to look for your ball. You can use a rake to look for your ball in the bunker. If you cause your ball to move, you must replace it. We're not going to get a penalty. But now, once we know where our ball is at, and if we were to cause it to accidentally move after that, we're going to get penalized, because at that point, we knew where our ball was. We were not searching for it. And we just learned earlier, you cannot move your ball at rest and play. So you're going to get penalized for that. I always forget, Jay makes some great videos. I always like to brag that Jay actually sat in on one of these rule seminars a few years back during probably during COVID. Jay's one of our great players. He played in a lot of our championships, and he got more interested in the rules. So he attended one of my rules of golf seminars a few years back, asked a bunch of great questions, and now a few short years later, he's up there at the big house making videos for them and doing a great job. I think they're great. I told Rusty, our director of rules and competitions, put as many Jay's videos in here as you can, because they really show you right there what it shows you what the rule says, and then it also puts it in a video for you. So a little plug for Jay and where he started. But
player in penalty area accidentally causes their ball to move. If they then choose to take penalty area relief, are they going to get one stroke penalty or two? One for causing your ball to move plus the penalty relief, or just one for the penalty relief?
I think the way the rule is written, I think you can get off the hook if you're going to come out of the penalty area. If you're not, you pick your ball up because you weren't sure what you're going to do. Now, if you replace it, you're going to get the one stroke penalty in the penalty area. But I do believe you can come out of the penalty area for the one stroke penalty and take your penalty area relief questions. Brand's going to double check me on that one, but I do believe that if you cause your ball to move in a penalty area, but you subsequently take relief from it, you're only going to get the one stroke coming out of the penalty area. But we'll get back to you on that one. Unplayable. What if I can't hit my ball? So ball is somewhere, or you can't hit, or you don't want to hit it. You can treat the ball as unplayable and proceed under these options. You may play at the previous place. So one of our veteran rules officials taught me a long time ago to remember your options for unplayable or ball and penalty areas A, B, and C. And option A is play again from where you played from. So option A, again, just remember your A, B, C's. Again, from where I just played from. B, I can take back on the line relief. So go right back in number 2 there, drop within a club, or you'll have to drop on the line right there, but that your relief area is 1 club length either side. And then option 3 is club lengths. Option C is club lengths. So again is A, B is back on the line, and C is club lengths. Now, if your ball is unplayable in a bunker, we do have the additional option for extra option for ball and bunker. I guess that would be option E. We would just skip D there. So extra option for ball and bunker, you can come out for 2 strokes and drop. But again, remember your unplayable option. People forget this all the time, and people always forget that option A again. And that one can be probably the best one sometimes.
If you are in a spot where you can't or don't want to play your ball as it lies, consider taking relief. Unplayable ball relief can be taken anywhere on the course except when your ball is in a penalty area, where the penalty area rule applies. If you decide to take relief, you have 3 options, but all come with 1 penalty stroke. The first option is stroke and distance, which means you can go back to the spot where you last played. The second is to imagine a straight line from the hole through the location of your ball and drop on that line behind it. Your ball can roll up to 1 club length in any direction from where it first struck the course, including forward. The third is to drop anywhere within 2 club lengths of your ball, no closer to the hole. In a bunker, you have the same 3 relief options, all for 1 penalty stroke. The only exception is you must stay inside the bunker if using either the 2 club length or back on the line option. There is, however, a 4th option that only applies when you decide your ball is unplayable in a bunker. It allows you to get out of the bunker by going back on the line as far as you'd like and comes with 2 penalty strokes.
Okay. Whoops. That one skipped right ahead on us there. But here's a great relief question option. So my ball is on a sprinkler head in the rough. Can I take free relief and drop the ball in the fairway? And the answer is yes, if your relief area puts you in the fairway. We have a great video here. It's a little long, but it's happened the other day. And I think it's worth a watch.
When you play Chrome Tour, you start
After
winning
the
more.
short
You get more precision. You get
sponsored ad
incredible
by
speed. And more golfers than ever
Callaway
are
Golf.
taking notice.
they're
Now,
not paying,
see
they're
what the
not
new gold
sponsoring
standard
this,
can
but
do
there's
for you.
Akshay, former junior player of ours.
JJ Spawn had some pretty good fortune, Terry, during that round and during that 9th hole play that we just showed you.
Yeah, Dan, I know it's gotten some play. So the relief that he was able to get for his 3rd shot at the par 5 9th, and we take a look. This is where the shot, his 2nd shot, ended up.
All right, yeah, that ball's
And we're going to bring in Mark Dusbovic, PGA Tour Rules. Mark, take us through this again.
Terry, the most important thing here is that JJ's ball lies in the general area. The general area includes both the fairway and rough. There is no distinction between the two in the general area. Mike Peterson grants relief for 1 of the sprinkler heads. There's 3 sprinkler heads lined up there. He gets relief for 1. Then JJ asks a great question. Is this 2nd sprinkler head that his ball after the first drop lies in, does he get relief for that one as well? It's a separate obstruction. That takes him to this area with the relief area where the 1 club length gets him to the fairway. He then drops twice. It rolls out of the relief area. He's able to place it, which happens to be right on the edge of the fairway. So it's a great break and a great question that JJ asked Mike.
All right. So again, we talked about areas of the course. And with that video there, there's no distinction in the general area between the rough or the fairway. So that player was able to utilize the rules to get their drop closer to where they wanted and got himself into the fairway by utilizing the rules, because it does not matter whether it's rough or fairway. The only areas of the course are general area or penalty areas, and then bunkers and greens and teeing area. But when you're taking relief, you know. So here's a great scenario here that happens sometimes if you're a rules official for us. I'm right-handed. Can I play left-handed to stand on the cart path and get relief? So this picture down on the bottom left here, if you're right-handed player, probably can't play a right-handed shot. So maybe they switch it and say, I'll play left-handed, and they're standing on the path. And the answer for the question is, it depends. If the left-handed stroke is reasonable under the circumstances, then you can take free relief for that stroke. So for example, right here, the player could probably play that. It would be reasonable to say you could play that left-handed.
After an errant tee shot out to the right, you find yourself in a bit of a tough spot where playing a normal right-handed shot isn't ideal. So you decide to punch one back into play using a left-handed swing. And in doing so, you're now standing on the cart path. Would you be allowed to take free relief from the cart path? Yes, because using an abnormal swing doesn't preclude you from taking relief as long as the stroke you're trying to make isn't clearly unreasonable. And here's another example of how this works. Now, to take relief, you're going to find the nearest point of complete relief using a left-handed stroke. That point may be located inside the tree, in which case you can just estimate. From that estimated spot, you get a 1 club length relief area to drop the ball in. And here's the best part. After completing the relief procedure, you're now free to use a normal right-handed swing because it says so right here. And to learn more golf rules just like this, go to usga.org/rules101.
All right, so another good video by Jay there. We're going to go back to that question Brandon brought up. I think I was getting an exception messed up in my head. So if you cause your ball to move even in a penalty area, you're going to be penalized unless the movement was caused because you were going to take relief. So if you were going to take relief and you caused your ball to move, obviously no penalty. And if you lifted it and you were not sure, so if you lifted your ball because you thought, oh, I'll get relief from this muddy area, but the muddy area is inside the penalty area, you have the option to put it back for a 1-stroke penalty, or you could just take relief outside the penalty area for your penalty. But that's a unique scenario. So if you cause your ball to move even in a penalty area and you are not going to take relief, you would still be penalized. So I got one of the exceptions there mixed up. So again, I just want to reiterate that anytime you cause your ball to move in a penalty area when you're planning on playing that ball, you're going to be penalized. The only scenario would be that one where you pick it up thinking you deserve relief from something, and then you don't get relief from that. Then you just say, well, I'm just going to drop outside the penalty area then and take my 1-stroke penalty. Any questions? Good. Okay. All right, moving on. Sprinkler box in the way of my shot. Can I get relief? And so again, this is a common one we hear about all the time. You are not entitled to relief if you do not have physical interference with that box.
Donald Trump is pressuring Tom Tillis to give billionaires another tax break, paid for by cutting Medicaid and making your health care more expensive. Tell Tom Tillis to stop selling out our health care. North Carolina senator should have a spine.
This situation trips up a lot of people. My ball lies behind this sprinkler control box, which is directly on my line of play to the flag. Do I get free relief? This control box is no different than a sprinkler head or a cart path. It's an immovable obstruction, which is one of the 4 abnormal course conditions. So you would only get relief if it physically interferes with your lie, your stance, or your swing. And when I simulate making my next stroke, I don't have physical interference with any of that. So unfortunately, there is no free relief. The only time that you would get free relief for an abnormal course condition that's on your line of play would be if your ball was on the putting green. This is most common with temporary water. So it's a really tough break, but sometimes you just have to get creative to play the ball as it lies.
Okay, Jay, like I said, is a very good player, so obviously he's going to show that end clip there of how he hit it good, how great he hit it there. But you do not get relief if it's in your line of play there for those irrigation boxes, and that is a very common question. Only if your stance or swing is being kind of interfered with that we would give you relief for that. And then we have this local rule. Now, it's important that you make sure you know whether your course is playing this local rule, but all CGA events and TYJ events, we utilize this rule the immovable obstruction is close to putting green. And this model local rule provides relief for line of play interference by certain immovable obstructions close to the putting green. So the obstructions must be within 2 club lengths of the putting green, and the ball must be within 2 club lengths of the putting green. And in CGA events, we say also your ball has to be in the fairway height, so you're not going to get relief in the rough. So if the aprons or fringes of the putting green are cut short enough, then putting from off the green is likely to be a common choice. Then immovable obstructions that are close to the putting green are most likely going to interfere with such stroke on the line of play. So the player may take relief under 16(1)(b) if an immovable obstruction is on the line of play and is within 2 club lengths. So check. And then our ball is within 2 club lengths. Check. So our ball must be within 2 club lengths of the sprinkler head, and the sprinkler head must be within 2 club lengths of the putting green. That's a great little picture there with the 2 club lengths. And again, this is a local rule that we utilize in CGA events, but not all clubs might play this rule. So it's always important to check any tournament you're playing if that rule is in play before you take relief. And again, we also further state that it must be in a closely mown area. And you must take complete relief. And this local rule only applies when both are in the fairway height or less.
So piggyback off that, someone's asking about TIO relief, essentially. And that's about green fans.
Yeah, the TIO relief is a different scenario. You do get relief for line of play and TIO relief. And there's a whole booklet that the USGA put out on how to take relief from a TIO. But greenside fans, kind of a thing of the past now with all the Bermuda greens and bent greens going away, but there still are some out there. You would get line of play relief from that in a CGA event because we mark those as, we say those are TIOs. Marking your golf ball, can I use a rock to mark my golf ball? And the answer is...
Here's a few things you can use as a
No,
ball
you must use
marker
an
that you
artificial
just might
object.
find surprising. So if we look at the definition of ball marker, the only actual requirement is that it must be artificial. Leaves, sticks, and other natural objects would not be allowed. It does cite some examples and it even uses the word small, but if you notice here, it says such as, which means these are just recommendations and not requirements. So a ball marker isn't technically limited in size. So if you needed to, you could use your shoe as a ball marker. You could use your hat, a glove, your cell phone, a towel, and I think you get the idea. Now, even though these objects are allowed, they're not recommended because the larger and more awkwardly shaped they are, the more difficult it is to get the ball back on its original spot. But no matter what artificial object you use, as long as you get the ball back on its original spot, you're within the rules.
Another great video by Jay there, being kind of silly with everything you could use. But again, anything that's artificial. Also, I actually use the toe of my putter sometimes. If I want to readjust my line, you can use that. But the most important part, as Jay stated in that video, is you must get your ball back on the correct spot. What do I do when my ball is embedded? My ball is plugged in. Is it a plugged lie in the rough? Can I take it out? Yes. You can take embedded ball relief and mark the spot, lift the ball, clean it, and drop it within 1 club length, no closer to the hole, without penalty. So the USGA won that battle with the RNA. It's in the, you can do it in the general area. You're not getting relief from embedded ball in a bunker or sand, in a sandy area, like a bunker or sandy area, and not in fairway height, and then also not in a penalty area.
Let's break down your options for an embedded ball. When your ball is plugged in its own pitch mark in the rough or fairway, you can try to play it as it lies, but you can also take free relief by dropping it out of the pitch mark. If you decide to take relief, you can lift and clean the ball. You could also change balls if you wanted to, and you're going to drop within 1 club length of the spot right behind the ball that's in the general area. As long as the ball comes to rest within the relief area, you've completed taking relief, and you can hole out your next stroke.
Okay, Jay's a very accomplished player. I don't know why he's acting surprised there. All right, rules of golf questions. What is the difference between red and yellow penalty areas? We want you to take this away tonight if you can. Is the number of relief options is what changes here. So in yellow, you have 2 options, and red, you have 3 options. So yellow, you have option A again, and option B is back on the line. Number 2 there, back on the line. You keep that point X where it last entered the penalty area and go straight line back on the flag. Then for red, you have A, B, and C. Again, back on the line or club lengths. Should just say A, B, C. Remember that.
What's the difference between red and yellow penalty areas? If we compare them side by side, they're virtually identical. If you find your ball in either one, you may play it as it lies without penalty. You can ground your club, take practice swings that touch the ground, and remove loose impediments and movable obstructions if they interfere with play. And if you decide to take relief, they both offer options for stroke and distance and back on the line relief. The only difference between red and yellow penalty areas is that red offers an additional relief option called lateral relief. And this is what allows you to drop a ball within 2 club lengths of where the ball last crossed the edge of the penalty area, no closer to the hole.
A, B, C. Again, back on the line or club lengths. So imagine you're playing Saturday afternoon with your buddy. Pick a hole that has water on it. Yellow or red. Where did I hit it? If I hit it in yellow, I have 2 options. I can go back again and play from where I played, or I can go B, back on the line. Options in red, you go A again, back where I played from, B, back on the line, or C, I get my club lengths.
Penalty areas include any body of water on the golf course, plus any other area marked by red or yellow stakes or lines. If you happen to find your ball in a penalty area, you can always play it as it lies. Before playing a stroke, it's okay to ground your club, take practice swings that touch the ground, and move loose impediments. If you choose to take relief, the color of the stakes will indicate how many options are available, but all come with 1 penalty stroke. The first option is stroke and distance, which means you can go back to the spot where you last played. The second is to imagine a straight line from the hole through the point where your ball last crossed the edge of the penalty area and drop on that line behind it. Your ball can roll up to 1 club length in any direction from where it first struck the course, including forward. You have a third relief option available only if your ball winds up in a red penalty area, which allows you to drop within 2 club lengths of where your ball last crossed into that penalty area, no closer to the hole. There may also be an area marked as a dropping zone that could be available as an additional option.
Talked about local rules earlier, so that drop zone is a local rule. Some clubs have drop zones, some clubs don't. Some tournaments you play in have drop zones, some tournaments you play in won't use them, so it's always important to read your local rule sheet. So here's our yellow penalty area options.
The rules of golf are changing in 2023. The back on the line relief procedure has been simplified, and here's what it looks like. So to use a penalty area as an example, I'm going to keep the point where the ball last crossed between the hole and where I want to drop it. I can go back as far as I want on the line, but I have to drop it on the line because that's what activates this relief option. If I don't drop it on the line, I'll be dropping in a wrong way. The relief area won't get created, and I'll have to correct my mistake by dropping it again, but in the right way on the line. But once dropped on the line, the ball can roll up to 1 club length in any direction, even if it rolls forward and closer to the hole. Back on the line is a great relief option for penalty areas, but you can also use it when you decide that your ball is unplayable.
Sorry about confusing you there. That's an option for red as well. So you have that back on the line relief option for red and yellow. And I love that video there. That Jay showed very well. Point X is where it last entered, and that's the point that you keep between you and the hole. It doesn't matter how your ball flew into the water. There's no such thing as line of flight. That often confuses young players or some people that want to gain an advantage. It's where it last crossed, and then you keep that point between you and the hole. And that's why sometimes with red, that's impossible to do. And so we give you that extra club lengths, option C. Can you practice after the hole? This one may surprise you, but limited practice is allowed after a hole is completed. I had a junior tournament last weekend. Father came up to me and the players were making the turn and having to wait. And so one of the other players in the group started practicing putting on the practice putting green. And his dad came over, another dad in the group, as they often do, came over and said the same thing as they always do. I don't want to call this kid on this, but he's over there doing it, which is fine. We make sure we're all playing by the rules. And I said, well, actually, that's perfectly legal. You can practice putting on the practice putting green in between nines, as long as you're not delaying play.
This rule catches a lot of people by surprise. So you watch another player in your group miss a short putt. They tap it in, but then retrieve the ball and putt it again. Does this player incur a penalty for practicing? A lot of people think that this is okay in match play, but a penalty in stroke play. But believe it or not, this is allowed in both match play and stroke play. While there is a restriction on practicing between holes, there is an exception that allows putting and chipping, which you can do on or near the putting green of the hole you just completed, as well as these two other places, just as long as it's not from a bunker and you're not unreasonably delaying play. And if you're wondering why you don't see the pros on TV doing this, it's because they play under a local rule that prohibits it. It is a rule that's more commonly used at the elite level, but it's always a good idea to check the local rules before you play.
So we allow it in CGA events. It's allowed within the rules of golf. You actually have to outlaw it to say you cannot practice. But again, you might want to check any tournament you play in. Don't want to quote that I told you it was okay. I told you the rules say it's okay, but somebody might put a rule in there saying it's not. What can I repair on the putting green? What damage can I repair? And you can repair a ball mark. So most damage can be repaired, but natural damage and maintenance cannot be repaired. So you cannot be out there fixing aeration holes. If the course had some grass growth issues, you can't be out there trying to get the dirt up in the bad patch areas and try to raise it up to the same height as the grass. You can just repair spike marks, ball marks, maybe old hole plug you can repair, but you cannot repair natural damage or maintenance such as verticutting or aeration.
The rules allow many special permissions on the putting green that you don't get anywhere else on the course. And while you can't repair aeration holes, natural surface imperfections, or any normal wear on the green, there is plenty you can do. Marking, lifting, and cleaning your ball is always permitted. It's okay to repair most damage such as ball marks, spike marks, hole plugs, and anything caused by shoes and animals. Sand and loose soil can be removed even when it's on your line of play. All those fixes must be done promptly and must not improve your line of play beyond the repair. Finally, you or your caddy are allowed to touch the green when pointing where you expect to putt.
So you can move sand and soil on the putting green. You can fix ball marks. You can touch your line of play. You used to not be able to do that, but you can go over there and say, I'm going to put it right over this ball mark right here. Touch the ball mark and no penalty. Question, I have a huge pitch mark in front of my ball on the fringe. Can I fix it? And the answer is no. A pitch mark off the green cannot be fixed if it improves your conditions affecting your stroke. So if the pitch mark is on the putting green, you can fix it, even if your ball is off the green. But if the pitch mark is not on the putting green and it's in your line of play, it's affecting your conditions, then you cannot fix it.
Here's a golf rules question that comes up all the time. So here's my ball on the fringe, pretty close to the flag. I want to putt this ball, but I've got a giant pitch mark right in my line on the fringe. So the question is, am I allowed to fix this? And unfortunately, I would not be allowed to, because this falls into the principle of playing the course as you find it. And under 8.1, I am not allowed to alter the surface of the ground in my line of play to give myself a better putt. If I were to press this down or fix this in any way, I would be assessed the general penalty, which is 2 strokes in stroke play and loss of hole in match play. Be sure to subscribe to learn more golf rules.
That was one of Jay's early videos, as you can tell. A little less USGA cut there, a little hair flowing out the back. But another great video, and it happens all the time. I'm sure to better players like Jay, where you hit a fringe in a wet area and it leaves a ball mark. You could not fix it there, as he said. It would be a penalty. You answering, you're good. All right, this is a good one. May I pick which side I take relief from a cart path? And the answer is no. You're required to drop within 1 club length of the nearest point of complete relief, not the nicest relief.
The first step in taking relief from conditions such as ground under repair, temporary water, or immovable obstructions is to find the nearest point of complete relief, no closer to the hole. This location is the spot either left of, right of, or behind your ball where the condition you are taking relief from no longer interferes with your stance or swing. You determine this spot by simulating the stance, swing, and direction of play you would use to play your ball if the condition didn't exist. The nearest point can change based on a variety of things, including whether you're right or left-handed, your height, or your choice of club. In this case, the player's nearest point of complete relief from the cart path is not to the left in the clear, but rather under the tree. It's good practice to figure out your options before lifting your ball, because sometimes playing it as it lies might be the best choice.
I always tell the juniors, before you pick that ball up, let's make sure we know where we're dropping, because it might be in a scenario where you'd rather just play it off the cart path and try to get that scratch out of your club later, because it might be under a tree. So it's your nearest point, not your nicest point. Cleaning the ball. When can I clean my golf ball? I am a purist. I play the ball as it lies, even in muddy days. Out of divots, I never touch my ball unless I'm getting it out of the golf hole.
Here's a piece of golf rules trivia for you. Can you name the 4 times when you can mark the ball and lift it, but you're not allowed to clean it? Pause this video to see how many you can name. You're not allowed to clean your ball when you're checking to see if it's cut or cracked, when you're trying to identify it, but if it's covered in mud, you're allowed to clean it only as needed to identify it, when it interferes with play for another player, and when you're checking to see if it lies in a condition where relief is allowed. For example, checking to see if the ball is embedded. Be sure to subscribe for more golf rules wisdom.
All right, so that first scenario that he showed there, you just left them to see if it's cut or cracked. Not going to be able to clean it. The second scenario, we're lifting to see if it's your ball. You're just at a bad line in the rough. You want to make sure it's yours. Make sure your markings are on that. You're okay to pick it up, but you can't clean it unless it's really muddy and you can't see any of your markings to make sure it's yours. You can do that. Then the third scenario, you see it all the time on tour, where the guys will mark their ball and then hold it off to the side so that they're not showing they're not trying to clean it all while somebody else plays their shot, and then they'll go back and replace it exactly on their spot. And then that fourth scenario where you're trying to see if maybe it's embedded, or if maybe you're in a sandy area, it might be a cart path underneath you, and you just want to see, you could lift up your ball just to see if you do get relief from a scenario, as long as you mark it first. I played a ball that wasn't mine. What do I do? Well, you must correct that error by playing your original. That's going to be a wrong ball penalty, a 2-stroke penalty.
After missing the green with your approach shot, you make a stroke at a ball that you think is yours out of some deep rough. You hit a great shot, but after you mark and lift the ball on the green, you realize it's not your ball. So you've just played a wrong ball, which gets you the general penalty. In match play, you would lose the hole, and in stroke play, you'd get 2 penalty strokes, but you also have to correct your mistake by playing the original ball, which is the right ball. This means you'd have to go back and try to find your original ball within the 3-minute search time and play it. It's important to know, though, that the actual stroke you made at the wrong ball doesn't count. Only the 2 penalty strokes count. So if you were able to find your original ball, let's say it was hidden in the rough right here, you'd be hitting your 5th shot. That would be your tee shot, 1, approach shot that missed the green, 2, penalty for playing the wrong ball, 3 and 4, so playing the original ball would be 5. If you couldn't find your original ball within the 3 minutes, the ball would be lost, so you'd have to play under stroke and distance by dropping and playing a ball within 1 club length of where you last hit your approach shot, and in that case, you'd be hitting 6.
All right, we play a wrong ball. It's a 2-stroke penalty. And stroke play, loss a hole in match play. Again, in stroke play, that stroke doesn't count. We're just going to get 2 strokes, and we must go correct that error. This happened a couple weeks ago at a junior event. The exact scenario. There was a par 5. The player hit a couple shots, said, I played a wrong ball. We told him, well, you got to go back. They couldn't remember the last time they played their correct ball. So we made them take a stroke and distance penalty and go back all the way and play from, I believe it was the tee shot is where he last knew. He didn't know where, he couldn't find his ball. So we never had a ball in play to correct that error. Can't find my ball. I think it's embedded, or can't find your ball. You think it's embedded. I think my ball is stuck in the ground, but I can't find it. How do I proceed? If you can't find your ball within 3 minutes, it's lost. Because it is lost, you must return to the spot of your previous stroke and play another ball for 1 penalty stroke. So if you're playing on a very muddy day and you hit it and it flies up in the air and you get up to that area and can't find a ball anywhere, or even if it's a super muddy area, if you're playing with Andy Priest, who's our new executive director, he's going to make you go back to the tee. I know I'll never forget when I was an intern, Andy and I got done marking a course, finished marking. We were going to go out and play 9 holes. He's an old baseball player, so he has a pretty big swing. He popped one up in the air with his driver. We saw it kind of land in the rough, went up there, looked for it. The rough was real muddy. We didn't find it. Andy walked all the way back to the tee just to prove a point to me what the rules of golf said. I told him he could just toss one there. I didn't care, but he wanted to prove to me that if you can't find your ball within the 3 minutes, then it's lost, and you must return to where you previously played from. If you can't find your ball, what do I do?
If you hit your ball out of bounds or lose it,
it's going right.
The rules require you to play another one from where you last played under the penalty of stroke and distance. Stroke and distance is your only option for a ball that winds up out of bounds or is lost unless an optional local rule provides an alternative. If you have any uncertainty about your ball being lost or out of bounds, consider playing a provisional ball from your original spot.
I think I'm going to hit a provisional ball.
Because looking for a ball only to have to return to the previous spot can disrupt the pace of play. If your previous stroke was made from the tee, simply tee it up again. If you last played from the fairway, the rough, a bunker, or penalty area, drop a ball within 1 club length of the spot where your last stroke was made, making sure not to move closer to the hole. If you happen to find your ball inbounds within the 3-minute search time, great.
Hey, I found my ball. Can someone pick up my provisional ball, please?
But if you can't find your ball or it indeed winds up out of bounds, just play on with the provisional. But remember, you're not allowed to play a provisional when the only place your original ball could be lost is in a penalty area. When this happens, you must instead use one of the options under penalty area relief.
That's a long video. That one can get a little confusing on you there. So a young lady playing from the tee. In one of the scenarios, she said, I found my ball and it was inbounds. Asked them to pick up the provisional. In the other scenario, she said, I found my ball. It's out of bounds. I'll go play my provisional now. I'm an advocate of provisionals. You should play them, especially tournament play, to keep things moving. And I know that I often find myself along the out of bounds area, so I do hit more tee shots in the average round than most people, but you'd think I'd get better. But either way, I am at least playing fast. So that was a long video. Did any questions on that video? Now here's a local rule that's not typically in tournaments, so don't get this one confused. But if you're playing with your buddies every Saturday, this might be something that you tell your club, hey, let's adopt this rule.
When your ball is lost or out of bounds, your course can use a local rule that does not require you to play under stroke and distance. Here is how it works. For 2 penalty strokes, estimate where you think your original ball is or where it went out of bounds. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through that estimated point. Next, estimate the point on the nearest edge of the fairway that is the same distance from the hole. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through that estimated point. The relief area where you can drop and play your ball for 2 penalty strokes will be quite large, anywhere as much as 2 club lengths outside of the 2 lines and between them, but not nearer the hole than the spot where you estimated your original ball is lost. You cannot use this local rule if your ball is lost in a penalty area or if you have played a provisional ball.
Again, that's a local rule. That is not a rule that is played in most tournaments, but it is something for weekend play to kind of keep things moving. It's called the alternative to stroke and distance, where they basically, the USGA said, we know Chris Zay, we know he hits the ball out of bounds every time he plays hole 16. We're just going to say, and then he, on his provisional, he usually stripes it right down the middle. This time, Chris didn't play a provisional. Let's just play like he normally does. Player B is always going to hit it over here. So we'll just go ahead and let him drop for 2-stroke penalty, just like his ball would be in play. And there's a couple different scenarios, different diagrams on those that you can find, and you can look that up. All those diagrams are in the app as well. And again, it's for a ball out of bounds or a ball that is lost that you can't find. And it's 2 strokes. So it's basically just saying, we know if you went all the way back and played from stroke and distance, you would probably hit it up here anyway. So let's just drop and move on. What happens if I play from in front of the tee markers? And the answer depends on match play or stroke play.
What's the penalty for playing from outside of the teeing area? The answer depends on whether you're playing match play or stroke play. In match play, believe it or not, there is no penalty, but your opponent has the option to cancel your stroke. And if they do cancel, you must play again from within the teeing area, but the good news is you're still hitting your first shot. On the other hand, if you play from outside of the teeing area in stroke play, the stroke doesn't count, but it's a 2-stroke penalty, and you must correct your mistake by playing a ball from within the teeing area. This means that when you correctly play from the teeing area, you'll be hitting your 3rd shot. And this correction aspect is really important, because if you don't correct this mistake and you tee off on the next hole, it's a disqualification. And this might sound harsh, but if there is no requirement to play from the teeing area, then you could tee off from wherever you wanted. And that's just not how the game of golf was meant to be played.
All right, so if you're like my buddy, he always does. We just give up. We're like, whatever. We give up with him. He always plays from a foot in front of the tee markers. I don't even know what he's doing. He's been playing golf all his life, but either way, it's a 2-stroke penalty if you play from in front of the tee markers. In stroke play and match play, somebody has to call you on it. So maybe you hit it out of bounds. They don't say anything. They let that stroke and distance count. Or maybe you hit it in the water and you're going to be penalized. So they just say, you know what, I'll accept what you did there. That's why match play kind of lets the opponent make that decision. But in stroke play, as Jay said in that video, if we didn't have rules, people could do whatever they wanted and tee up right there by the hole and just say, well, just 2 strokes penalty and there's my 3rd. So that's why you must go back and correct it in stroke play. I've spoke a little bit about local rules. Here's a quick video. We're getting towards the end now, so if you have some questions, start thinking about, but we only have
local rules are optional and are put into effect by whoever is running a tournament or managing the specific golf course you are playing. And these local rules need to be consistent with the principles of the game. There are hundreds of examples called model local rules that can be found in the rules of golf, such as defining out of bounds, since it is important to know what defines the course boundary, and the status of objects on the course, like whether or not you are allowed to take free relief from a dirt path. Local rules also may cover subjects that include an alternative to stroke and distance, which allows you to drop at the fairway edge nearest to where your ball was lost or went out of bounds for 2 penalty strokes, and the marking of dropping zones for a ball hit into a penalty area.
Okay, so if you play the same club all the time, you should know your local rules. And when you play in a tournament, you should always double check the local rules. Can I get relief from divots in a fairway? Playing the ball as it lies is a fundamental part of the game. You're not guaranteed good lies in the fairway or bad lies in the rough. And so how would a divot be defined versus imperfections in the fairway? So how do we know this divot is grown back or might just be sitting down? You can say, well, this is still a divot. I can still see where the person's club came through here, even though the grass is kind of already grown over it. So I am an advocate of you have to play out of a divot. I'm sorry, that's just the rules. I just hate it for you, but you'll get over it. And again, you're not sitting there complaining when you get a great lie in the rough. So, all right, any final questions as we're wrapping it up here? This is kind of an opportunity to ask anything that you might want to ask.
Random one. Tee shot hits another player walking out onto the fairway and the ball deflects into a penalty area.
That's going to be just unfortunate. Yep. Your ball just hit an outside agency, and when your ball is in motion, hits an outside agency from the teen area, then you play your ball as it lies, and unfortunately, your ball lies in a penalty area now. So you're going to have to play the ball as it lies from there or take penalty area relief.
Getting a few drop zone questions. Do I have to play from drop zone or can I play along line?
So yeah, drop zone is always an additional option. So you still always have options A, B, and C. Again, where you played from previously, again, B, back on the line. And then C, club lengths for red. So that additional one for red. And then additional options are drop zones. So you are not forced to use the drop zone. Now, if you play in a CGA event, we usually put the drop zones in a favorable place that kind of help you move along, but you are not required to play from a drop zone.
Another question. Tee shot, par 3 goes in the water. Can you tee up your ball in the drop zone?
No. The teen area is only the 2 club lengths rectangle from the actual team, from the front edge of the tee markers in the teen area. That's where you can tee your ball up from. If you drop in the drop zone, you just play your ball as it lies. So don't drop it in one of those divots there. That one drop zone had a bunch of divots. Don't drop in a divot there because you're going to have to play it as it lies there.
The last one I've come across.
All right. Well, it's about to storm here in Southern Pines, so I think Brandon and I are probably going to be in the office for another 15, 20 minutes. So, or Brandon's going to try to get out of here and get home. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll hopefully do these again next spring before the season starts.